Have you ever looked at a range map for horseshoe crabs? If you have, and like me, you looked at one that looks like this, with the east coast of the United States highlighted, you might be surprised by how far the range extends, from Maine all the way down to Florida, and even with a small population on the Yucatan Peninsula. And if that surprised you, like it did me, then this next one's really going to throw you. If you search a little harder through these range maps, you can find one that looks like this. Here we have the whole world, and you'll notice that it's not just North America highlighted, but Southeast Asia. What's the deal with that? I'll tell you the deal. First, by looking at the present day, and then looking into the past where we find the real answers. Today, there are four recognized species of horseshoe crabs. There's the American horseshoe crab, found on the east coast of North America from Maine all the way down to the Gulf of Mexico that we all know. And then in Southeast Asia, there are three other species. The mangrove horseshoe crab, the southern horseshoe crab, and the tri-spine horseshoe crab. These two groups are separated by 12,000 miles, two oceans, and a continent, literally opposite sides of the earth. Now, I don't know about you, but when I see two groups of species separated by 12,000 miles on a continent, and I know as well that that species is hundreds of millions of years old, first thing I think of is that we've got ourselves a case of continental drift trickery. Trickery? Shenanigans. If we take a look at a phylogenetic tree, we can see that the American horseshoe crab and the three other Asian species split off from a common ancestor around 260 million years ago. And if we look at a map of the Earth around this time, we can clearly see what is happening. At the time this split took place, Pangaea was just starting to split into Gondwana and Laurasia, the split of which formed a large sea known as the Tethys Ocean. It is in this shallow sea where the ancestors of today's horseshoe crabs lived. The ancestors of the American horseshoe crab lived in the western section, and the ancestors of the Asian crabs lived in the east. As the continents continued to drift apart, they each followed the coast to where they are today. This in itself is a fascinating story of biogeography, but it's hardly the only example of its kind. As it turns out, the unique geography of the Tethys Ocean allowed it to greatly influence the natural landscape we have today. In its day, the ocean was a warm, shallow ocean home to a large array of marine creatures, and it was brimming with reefs where all sorts of life could thrive. Being right at the gap where Pangaea was beginning to break apart, the ocean expanded and expanded over time as the continents split. Eventually, uplifting in the middle of the ocean caused it as well to split into five parts that today have become the East Atlantic, West Atlantic, East Pacific, the Mediterranean Sea, and Indo-West Pacific. This means that life that originated and inhabited this relatively small part of the world millions of years ago was allowed to spread to every corner of the ocean, when they would not have been able to cross the pelagic zone themselves between shallower parts of the sea. Along with horseshoe crabs, lemon sharks, bound to the shallows above the continental shelf, are found all over the Caribbean, across the Isthmus of Panama, and all the way across the Atlantic along the coast of North Africa.